So nice to meet you. I'm very happy to have you here tonight. And I think that we can today talk about a lot of important things that are important for all of Ukrainians. So nice to meet you.
Same here. Thank you for having me.
I'd like to start our conversation from drones, yes, that Russia used in the Ukraine now, after in the war against Ukraine right now, and drones that are killing our people. For example, in Odessa. It's very important thing right now. And do you think does Iran recognize the transfer of these drones that attacks Russia, and Ukraine believes, that Iran has transferred the drones to Russia and has already cancelled some accreditation for Iran's ambassadors? So we see that diplomatic relationships are getting worse. So actually, what is Iran's reaction?
Well, the official line from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Iran is that no, Iran hasn't provided drones to Russians. Amir Abdullahian, the foreign minister of Iran, when he was talking to Dmytro Kuleba, Ukraine foreign minister, he explicitly said that, denied that Iran is providing drones to Russia. The official line of Tehran is that Iran is opposing the war, is looking for a political solution, and is not providing arms and drones or whatever of military equipment to neither side of the conflict. So that is the official line of Tehran, and saying that any armament, any military equipment, any help in this regard to any side is prolonging the war, and Tehran is seeking the political solution. So this is the official line, and denying it several times. Even yesterday, the foreign minister of Iran, talking to New York Times, repeated the same, claiming that though Iran has defensive cooperation with the Russia, but has not provided drones to the Russians. This is the foreign ministry. But then when it comes for the supreme leader of Iran, when he met Putin in Tehran, he said that if Putin was not taking initiative in his own hands, sooner or later NATO was imposing a war against the NATO was imposing a war against Russia.
Well, what was that a transfer of a limited number of drones of Iran, or may have helped Russia to establish like a mass production? What do you think?
Well, we don't know. The reports are saying that Iran has exported from a few hundreds to more than 1,000 drones to US. We don't know the numbers, if it has been happened, if ever this export has been done. But we know that in the strategic relation that two countries are sharing, Russia and Iran, we cannot put aside the possibility of mass production of the Iranian drones by the Russians.
What do you think? How did Iran manage to get the technology to produce such powerful drones? The Minister of Defense of Ukraine stated the parts manufactured by the American company were found in these drones that were downed. So what could be the connection?
Well, how Iranians managed to produce such a sophisticated drone or drones goes back to Iran-Iraq war that hardly reflected in the media. During the war, when Saddam Hussein imposed the war against Iran, which was the longest war of the century, the Western powers were providing Saddam with the all possible weapons, and Iran was alone without any missile, any drone. So at that time, Iran learned that if it wants to have something to say in the region and stand against so-called its enemy, it has to produce its own missile and drones. So it goes back to the war of Iran and Iraq. That was the milestone. But later on, Tehran claims that the Iranians, they hunted so-called the American drones, and then by the reverse engineering, they managed to produce drones, and they managed to produce it locally. And part of it, I believe that it comes probably from those hunted drones of the American drones, or in one case, the Israeli drone. And the rest is coming from the local scientists, local experts, and then tremendous work which has been done in this regard. And Iran has been able to produce drones in mass production. And of course, this the question of sanctions out there, and but Iran is managing to get some pieces from the black markets, and Iranians, they are knowing how to sort of go against the imposed sanctions.
Well, could it be that Russia just stole technology of the production of such drones?
Well, if Iranians are claiming that by reverse engineering they have been managed to produce so-called the copy of the American drones, why not the Russians? And moreover, as I said earlier, I think that if the strategic relationship between the two countries, Iran and Russia, exists, and now in the shade of a threat, both the countries are feeling threat from the Western powers, namely USA and Europeans. Why not? That could be a reason for the Iranians to either give the technology, or the Russians themselves to do it by reverse engineering. Moreover, let us not forget that the Russians themselves, they are the big military power.
Well, isn't Iran is not afraid of consequences if Russia will recognize as a terrorist state, and the fact that the transfer of drones is confirmed? So does it not threaten Iran for additional sanctions?
Well, the reality is that Iran and Iranians, they are living for more than 40 years with the US sanctions. And neither US nor Europeans, they are not willing to call Russia a terrorist state. They are afraid, they are scared that by calling Russia a terrorist state, the war will be escalate and to an unprecedented level, and it will be hard to contain the war which is already raging in the East Europe. So I hardly believe that it will happen, as we have witnessed during the last months. The US, the EU, they're not willing to call they're not willing to call the Russia a terrorist state. They have bluntly and openly said that we don't want to escalate this war. Moreover, let us not forget what Putin and Medvedev recently said. They have threatened the nuclear, threat against Ukraine. So it is more probable that they won't call Russia a terrorist state, and I don't think that that more sanction will do harm Iran as it does today. As I said, Iranians and Iranian regime, they have learned to live with the US sanction for more than 40 years. Rather, sanctions will harm Russia more than Iran.
Well, if there is a connection between the announcement of a cooperation between Iran and Russia and Israel destructions of the drones manufactured plant in Syria, what do you think?
Well, I don't see any relevance between the two incidents. Israelis are attacking Iranian bases and personnel now and then in Syria, so it is not something new. And I hardly see a correlation between the Iranian drones reportedly attacking being used against the Ukrainians in Ukraine war, and the Israelis are, targeting a so-called Iranian drone factory in the Syria. Israelis, we know that they have taken a balanced standing. They neither sided Ukraine nor Russia. They are playing in the middle. And moreover, we know how Zelensky is upset with the Israelis by not receiving the Israelis' weapons and anti-missile system.
Well, could there be any contradictions in Iran between now spiritual leader Khamenei and president over the supply of drones to Russia? So does he allow a similar scenario, and even in context of rising in Iran, what there are now, and or maybe is the government openly together is right now?
You mean, if I understood you right, if there is differences between
Yes.
the government, the president, and the supreme leader?
Mm-hmm.
That was the question.
Yes.
Well, in Iran, it is very, the politics, it's very complicated. There are several layers. So Ministry of Foreign Affairs is saying something, the Revolutionary Guards are saying something else, and the supreme leader is saying the final things. So I don't think that there's a big differences at the end in the when it comes for the policy of Tehran toward Russia, toward Ukraine. I don't see a major differences in terms of drawing the foreign policy.
Well, and maybe my last question is, well, in your opinion, will it not prompt Israel to start supplying Ukraine with weapons to confront the internal enemy Iran already here on the battlefield of Ukraine, or if Iran is actually on the side of Russia and gives it weapons, for example, as drones?
Well, we know President Zelensky, how he is upset, as I said earlier, how President Zelensky is upset by Israeli's position, by not receiving the Israeli sophisticated weapons. And moreover, I don't think that Tel Aviv will take action so drastically against the Russians. So I don't see in the picture that it will happen. And we will see a drastic change of policy from Israeli side.
Well, and one more very important question for me. Well, what about people? Yes, what do they think about what is going on? And do they support or do not support that Iran is supplying the drones to Russia?
Well, let me say that I don't think that it has been an easy decision for Tehran to provide drones for the Russians. It must have been an easy decision because still the memory of the Iranians are fresh with the downing of the Ukrainian airplane in the sky of Tehran by the Revolutionary Guard. So I think people of Iran, the Iranians, they are against the war, like the regime that they claim that they are also against the war. But psychologically speaking, I don't think that neither the government, neither the regime, nor the people were ready for this military pact between Iran and Russia. Moreover, I think that Iranian government is paying somehow a ransom to Mr. Putin by providing drones to Russia. Because as you know, Iran has basically and literally no friend in the international arena and left somehow alone with the Russia and somehow with China. Iran needs Russia in the United Nations Security Council. Iran needs Russia for the nuclear deal, which is ongoing, JCPOA. So to my mind, I think that it was more a ransom that Iran paid to Putin in order to sort of keep the strategic relations that has started with Moscow.
Okay, thank you so much.